Hi. I wrote a special tribute for my mother that I read at her funeral service. And I've had some different people, friends and family, mention that they feel that it was something that maybe I should record and share, especially for those in the family or close friends that were not able to be here due to the COVID or the distance that we are apart. So I feel that it's somewhat therapeutic. Today has been a little bit of a dreary day here in Ohio, rainy, gray, and I have felt that inside a little bit today. So I feel that it's a little bit for me also that I am reading this for you. For as long as I can remember, it has always been my mom and me. We were a unit, one thing. We, us. Yes, there was my dad, my grandparents, lots of friends. I have my husband, my kids, and my Kruger family. But my mom and I were each other's. In trying to put into words what I mean, I find it very hard to explain, but it's been me and her through it all, through everything. And in some ways, it really feels like everything. My mom was just 18 when I was born, and she often told people that we grew up together. I know exactly what she means because sometimes I had to be the mom. She has loved me since I was born, but I have loved her my whole life. I am the witness to her life, the person that she was committed to and that was committed to her. We. My mom met my dad after I was born. I know that sounds backwards, but Roger, my dad, chose to marry a 19-year-old woman and a baby girl. He was gentle and mild, creative, sensitive, and he was a wonderful provider. He loved us both, and through him I had a stable upbringing, a grandma that adored me, and a whole family of people that were crazy, loud, and full of life. When we lost Daddy in 1993, I felt very alone. It felt very alone and scary and empty. But we were still we, my mom and I, the two of us. She called me her rock, and I felt her strength. We walked through so many of life's toughest experiences, holding together and never crumbling. I know that God has a plan, that He's not just randomly throwing souls around, because she needed me in all the ways He equipped me to be, and she was exactly the perfect mom for me. I'm so thankful that my mom didn't give me a bunch of insecurities. She didn't make me feel less than, and she didn't make me afraid of the world. In fact, she let an 18-year-old girl with $20 in her pocket get on an airplane for the first time in my whole life and fly across the country to stay with people that neither one of us had ever met to be a nanny. What a brave mom. Did I mention that I'm her only child? Contrary to today's moms, she didn't do things for me, but she was always my cheerleader in a low-key way, like, you'll figure it out. When I fell down, when I failed, she was there to push me back up. She didn't coddle me, and she was very straightforward. In fact, she may have told a few of you exactly how she saw things. But truly, she always meant it with love behind it. She loved people. That's the most important thing I ever learned from my mom. Now, my mom was not perfect. In fact, she was flawed, but I loved her anyway. Thankfully, God gave me a heart to love people just as they are, just as we all are, flawed. God gave me a mom that I never ever doubted. I have been loved. From the moment she became pregnant, I have been loved, and I've always felt it. Occasionally I got into trouble, or I made her mad, or maybe I was even being a jerk, but I knew I was still loved. I made her mad last fall after she moved in with us. I can't remember what it was about, but she told Dirk, I'm not talking to her no more. But guess what? She did. I've always known that we were us. No dumb squabble would affect our connection. My mom was always reminding me, doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be enough. When I think of growing up, I think of my mom always working. Work was where she shined. At work, she was organized, efficient, on top of everything, and highly valued for her dedication. Until she wasn't, but that was a long time later. Our world is often where we feel our strengths. When you have a job you love and you're good at it, you feel fulfilled and accomplished. KFC made my mom feel important, needed, accomplished, valued, and powerful. I saw all of that in her. I saw how much a job can define you. And I'm proud of the person she was at work. When I lived in California, if I got homesick, I went to KFC to eat. And I'm thankful for the many longtime friends she made during her years there. And I'm angry that she was so hurt and they were disloyal to her. But I will not let that taint the over 40 years of dedicated service that she gave. She was a great worker, and she gave them her all. When that chapter closed, after licking her wounds, my mother picked herself up and moved on. And this is where it really gets exciting. Over the span of about 2 years, she outgrew her old life. In the process of getting her Colby Street house ready to sell, sorting through closets and dressers, I started to realize that she had never stopped living the life she had when my dad was alive. She had been stuck for nearly 20 years repeating the same day. Yes, like in Groundhog's Day. It was different years and different people, but she was stuck. And once the ball of change got rolling, she began zooming forward. She quit smoking after over 40 years. She stopped drinking virtually any alcohol. She sold the house and rented a condo-style apartment that had everything that big old house never had. 1-story living with an attached garage, air conditioning at the flip of a switch, and a master suite complete with walk-in closet and attached bathroom. When she moved forward, she did it with style. She bought almost everything new and started fresh, and she was happy. And then she decided to see the world. Now, my mom was generous long before this, but she knew with 3 little kids, my part-time job, and all of our other responsibilities, for us to travel, she would have to be giving. And she was. She told me she wanted to share these experiences with her family. How else would it be fun and fulfilling? So my husband, my kids, myself, and Grandma took planes, trains, automobiles, and amazing cruise ships to Florida, the Bahamas, Cozumel, Belize, Coco Key, Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, New York City, Las Vegas, the Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, and even Grand Haven, Michigan. And my mother took me to Tuscany and Rome, Italy. Oh, the memories we will have forever. I am so blessed. One of her true joys was when she started bartending at the VFW. She and my dad had been very active with that club, so it was like coming back home again. She knew everyone. She knew how to serve a beer, and she made enough money to pay for more trips. She always cited it as the best job she had ever had. I mean, I get paid to be mean to people, she would say. My mom taught me that if you're going to belong somewhere, you need to be active, be helpful, and be prepared to work your tail off. She was the secretary of the VFW Auxiliary since I was a child, and she was instrumental in the formation of the Napoleon Eagles Airy. She has been their Ladies Auxiliary Secretary for 20 years. She was very proud of her work in both of these organizations. They mattered to her, and the friends she made in these memberships have been some of the most supportive and loving of her lifetime. The day before Mom went in the hospital, I took her to the VFW, and the outpour of love and support was like a flannel blanket wrapped around her, warming her from the inside out. The hardest words for her to say were that she was going to have to quit her job because it just wasn't fair for someone to have to cover her shifts when she didn't feel good. God's timing is startling to me. I can see his hands on us, my mom and me, from bringing Daddy into our lives, giving her hard work ethics that would eventually make it possible for her to afford to travel with her family, providing her with genuine friends and a family that would be a constant source of love and support throughout the many trials of her life. 20 years before, somehow inspiring Dirk and I to buy a house that was perfect for her to move in and yet still be independent. And for giving me a husband that didn't hesitate for a second when I mentioned having his mother-in-law move in. Even the COVID-19 shutdown Quarantine was a wonderful time for our whole family to be together without the busyness of normal life. We planned meals, made shopping lists, cooked, and ate. And boy, did we eat well. We watched movies, played games, played with the dogs my mom absolutely loved, unless they were making her mad, and really lived together. I honestly hated for it to end. And I am so thankful for those precious weeks. God motivated me to have a 69th birthday party for her, and even though it rained all day, it cleared up for the evening, and it was a terrific time for all. The evening before Mom was admitted to the Toledo hospital, we had family pictures taken at our house. She said she didn't need any pictures, but I told her we did. She looks so good in the pictures. A true testimony to how strong she was. I trust she knows what a beautiful gift that was to us, and I would have never guessed she wouldn't get to see them. Such very precious moments. Excuse me. From the moment my mom was told she probably had cancer to her very last hours, we were fighting side by side. The last few days at the hospital, I was able to shower her with attention and love and time. She introduced me as Nurse Amy to the real nurses as they came on shift, and I was so honored to be able to have nothing else to think about but being with her. She wasn't just my mom. She was my best friend. Just a couple of days before my mom passed, I believed she would come home, and I worried that this fight might become rough. It had already taken its toll on her independence and her spirit. She told me she was not afraid. She knew she was forgiven, and she said she and God have plans. God's timing is startling to me, but I trust him. I trust that he gave us our very special bond, and I feel his comfort and love. We know from Romans 8:28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called for his purpose. I will miss her so much, but I will have another purpose. I will have more fun, and I will have hope, spirit, fight, and strength. I won't have my mom beside me, but I will have her inside my heart forever. Thank you.